morning and welcome to the Place Your Trades Network. I'm your host, Swing Pony, and today I have an amazing surprise guest, Bofo.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for joining me on such last minute notice. Karma was supposed to join us today. We had a little bit of a scheduling mishap, and we've got lovely Bofo here and ready to take the spot. Um,
Lovely. People don't call me lovely usually.
well, you're my guardian angel this morning. You're very lovely. Um, Before we get started, guys, this podcast is sponsored by Tradeovate. They do have a new platform that they've launched recently for event contracts, which we're going to go ahead and discuss this morning. If you guys want to join us and trade with us, there is a link in the chat. Please click and download and make sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for all future episodes. How's your morning going?
It's nice and slow. I'm a small caps trader and there's not a whole lot going on, so just kind of getting prepared before the bell.
Small caps. Those were my golden days when I first got started. I remember, at one point there was so many stocks under like $1, and then I traded small caps all the way up to the point where it was like only 10 stocks remaining under $1, only 2 stocks remaining under $1. I mean, that was like the golden era. So many good memories.
Well, guess what? We got a lot back under $1 now.
Yeah, I believe you. That was sort of when I pivoted towards options because I mean, I loved small caps, but I think there was a certain period where I think all of us were waiting for the IWM to potentially break out. Um, I remember just like looking at that chart every day and it was constantly going up towards resistance and teasing and like it just never came. And I was like, all right, I gotta pivot. I gotta add to the toolbox. And that's where options came in.
hmm
I do want to talk to you a lot more about you and your trading style. But before we get into all of that, let's go ahead and actually pull up some of the event contracts for today. As you guys know, we had jobless claims and GDP this morning, and good news is bad news is good news. The saga continues. Let me pull up sort of what we're looking at with these event contracts. So I actually was a little brave and took some cheap no's to the 38.75s early this morning, expecting maybe, the news could give us a bigger move. So looking good so far, but you never know. Market open could change a lot of things. All right. So we got our event contracts up. Um, we're at 38.72 right now. I did do a little Twitter poll. I love doing these. I did today's later because I wanted to let the news come out before we try to do too much predicting. And let's see what the results are. So I asked, will ES close above 38.75? 31% said yes, and 69% said no. Um, Now, what I like about doing these polls is that I know a lot of people kind of say, like, go against what the majority say on Twitter. That's sort of like a barometer to use in the opposite direction, sort of like, quote unquote, the Kramer index and all of that. But you guys have been 3 for 3. The last 3 times that I've done this, you guys were spot on. This is the 4th time. Looking good so far, but night's still young. We'll see what happens. So, kind of going in here and looking at the strikes. 38.75 is what I took early this morning. I took those at $4. So already up to $10, looking good. That is, obviously the hot strike to look at right now with, the yes and no's being almost equal. So we'll see what happens when market opens and where it takes us. I mean, a lot of times we do have these events where we'll get the big dump based on news. And then before you know it, at market open, we'll just completely reverse. So anything is possible. And we do have core PCE tomorrow. So yeah, there's a lot that is shaping up to look very interesting headed into the end of year. All right, Bofo, Let's talk.
Let's do it.
So, you've been a small caps trader your entire trading career?
Yeah, well, um, so I started trading about 3 years ago, and I kind of dabbled in everything in the beginning, swinging options, large caps, buy, small caps, you name it, just kind of finding my groove. And then small caps is what stuck.
Mm. So, when you were doing options, were you doing options on small caps or no? That was just a different part of your.
Both,
Oh,
everything. Yeah, I'm one of those people that paid a hefty market tuition, getting burned on a bunch of different things
oh
before
yeah.
I started finding some traction.
Yeah, I feel like market tuition, because there was a time where I was like, oh no, I'm doing pretty well. I didn't have to go through that. And it's like, oh, if you haven't gone through it yet, just wait till the market shifts a little bit. Like, just because
As
you
soon
don't
as you get
pay,
confident, you're going to get humbled. Yeah.
you may not pay your market tuition up front, but you'll pay it down the line. It's
hmm
kind of inevitable. So what are you doing right now? Are you more of a momentum day trader? Are you a swinger? Are you literally holding for minutes and seconds? Like, well, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I'm primarily a momentum day trader. The caveat there is that momentum in small caps has been so sporadic for 3 months now.
Mm,
August was the last time that we had any kind of consistent momentum. And then November was just, I mean, shorts had a heyday. I'm not really a short. Those of us that play long, we were forcing stuff and just not winning anything. And then here in December, shorts aren't really getting the follow through to the downside that they were getting, but that doesn't mean it's been easy for longs either. Shorts have been swiped out, but we're still not getting great setups for the long side. So
sure.
I'm kind of in an adapt phase right now. I've been back testing other strategies. My personality is more drawn to scalping, so I'm trying some scalp strategies in small caps, and then also got a little thing going with SPY too. So
Are you
that's
trading
kind of where I'm at.
options by?
Options on SPY. I was doing futures, but it was too many brokers everywhere, and so
Sure.
now I'm just back to doing options on SPY and intraday moves.
Mm-hmm.
That's about
Um,
it.
I like that you mentioned that scalping fits your personality because I almost
Mhm.
feel like that's something that's not talked about enough. Is I 1000% think the market is a mirror to you and yourself. Your good
Mhm.
habits, your bad habits, what you're like out in the real world. I mean, any form of like uncertainty you have about yourself, the market's like, welcome. This
Right.
is your journey to self discovery. You're going to go through waves of loving yourself. You're going to go through waves of hating yourself. You are going to want to work on things outside of the market because you know they're going to show up in the market. So I definitely think it's like super, super important to know your personality and know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and trade according to that.
100%. That's why I tried so many strategies and failed, and you kind of have to be honest with yourself about what those weaknesses are. And is that a weakness you can overcome, or is that a weakness that you just need to recognize and
Exactly.
shift your focus? And so for me, I know that I have trouble holding a thesis for an extended period of time. I get shaken out on the shorter time frame
Mhm.
moves. And so that has led me to be more of a short time frame scalp mindset type person.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been interesting for me because I started out swing trading, especially with small caps. I loved it. There's just a peace of mind in knowing that I'm not micromanaging a position. You
hmm
know, I have my general like level under this, a couple closes, I'm going to exit the play. I had a very set plan, but as the market evolved and it became a lot more of like a scalper and day trader's paradise, I work a full-time job as well. I started to see myself, especially being in a sea of day traders, right? You have to see kind of where the influences come sometimes that push you out of your realm for better or worse. and I was forcing a lot of scalping and day trading when it was just not my style. You
Hmm.
know, I'm working a full-time job. I if I blink or if I look at an email, my position could be nuked.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's been an interesting shift in the market. I think since both you and I have started trading, I've been trading for about 2 years, but I think it's fair to say that the market has evolved a lot. And it's just as important to know, like, when you need to adapt and try
Hmm.
different things, and when you need to say, okay, this type of market, like, isn't working for me in this moment. And that's
Hmm.
okay for me to sit out.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think even though we've only been trading for 2 or 3 years, and that's not a very long time,
We're
compared
babies
to a lot of
still.
people. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
still babies, but when you think about it, look, our experience has kind of run the gamut in a very short amount of time. I mean, we've lived through the COVID era, which was almost unprecedented. And then, I'm seeing a lot of seasoned traders talk about how difficult and um, I guess bad this market has been this year. So seeing both extremes, I think, it's only been 2 or 3 years from us, but the experience that's come with trading through those 2 or 3 years it's almost like we've been trading for longer than that. If
Yeah.
you've learned those lessons and taken them to heart.
Mhm.
And I've got a question for you. If you're trading options, one, are you swinging those or day trading them? And then two, I've seen some large cap and options traders saying that this market has also been difficult for them. And that's a little bit difficult for me to grasp because, when I look at SPY, when I look at the large caps, the draw to them for me is there's always liquidity.
Sure.
They don't move the same way necessarily, but there's always the strategies there to be had. Whereas small caps, we're dependent on that, momentum and for technicals to really behave the way that small caps do. So it's been more challenging. Would you say it's been more challenging for the large cap traders and options traders as well recently?
Yeah, well, I think the trickiest part with options is consolidation. And we've
Hmm.
definitely been through big ranges of consolidation. And it really just depends on how short term you're buying your contracts, how long you're trying to be in the play. It's very difficult, I would say, to swing options in this environment.
Hmm.
Is it doable? Absolutely. Um, you just have to make sure to buy time. And
Right.
that's one of the biggest things. It's in this environment that's so scalp and day trader friendly. Our instinct does often go to just buy weeklies. Like, don't buy a lot of time. The move's going to happen. You get 6 days of consolidation, 5 days, you're screwed. Your options have gone to zero.
Right.
The move that
Hmm.
you're ultimately anticipating could happen, but guess what? It could happen in 2 weeks. And so it's been very challenging in that sense, I would say. For me, what I've actually done over the last few months is I've focused a lot more on just trading SPY, options on SPY, options on SPX every now and then when I'm feeling, brave. Um, but for me, I just think, again, a part of knowing your personality is that I know I can get distracted very, very easily. So if I have a massive watch list of things going on and charts to look at and things like that, I juggling a job at the same time, it's not the best fit for me. So either I'll look at like 2 or 3 setups the night before, have that on my watch list in addition to SPY, or I'll just primarily stick to SPY because it's like what I'm comfortable with, what I'm familiar with. So when it
Gotcha.
comes to that, definitely day trading SPY. There are some names every now and then where I'll take longer swings on, but again, it's a funky little market.
Right. Would you say that this market that we've been in the past several months with inflation being a huge driver of things, would you say that all these data events and news drops that are heavily affecting SPY, like CPI and the
Mhm.
FOMC meetings and all that stuff, are those more heavily influencing SPY and causing more drastic moves than normal, or is that how it always is?
Um, I would say well, so I wasn't trading options back when the market was like sizzling hot.
Hmm.
Um, options have been a lot more frequent for me, I would say, within the last, I don't know, 8 months or so. Um, and the one thing that I've noticed, especially in the last few months, it's like every single economic event matters. It's always like,
Sure.
oh, okay, let's see what happens with CPI. Let's see what
Hmm.
happens with FOMC. Let's see what happens with jobless claims. Like, let's see what happens with GDP. So every single event, I think, carries a lot more weight because with especially being in like a bear market, one of the trickier things is these bear market rallies because when they happen, they can be convincing enough to, have people think, okay, we're done with the bear market. It's time to get
Hmm.
bullish again. And that's right when you get the rug pull. And so, since we are in a bit of a limbo and a bit of a day trading environment, I would definitely say each piece of news carries a lot more weight.
That makes sense. And it's funny when I look at the daily chart on ES and SPY right now
Mhm.
because the overall bear trend is very much intact, very well respected.
Mhm.
But then when it comes to trying to play that, like if you're looking at ES right now, we got that clear trend line rejection at 4100, which was kind of to be expected. I was amazed at how clean that was. I think that may have been
Mhm.
CPI somewhere around there where it, bounced right off. And then a couple days later, we get news and it rips right back to new highs and busts through that trend line to
Huh?
4150.
Let's pull
And
the
then we
chart up.
just wick back down and lose it again. And now we've just totally maintained the big channel. Yeah, exactly. Right there.
Yep. So that's the tease, right? You kiss the trend line. And here's the thing, when every single person is talking about one thing, trend line, trend line, trend line,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, okay, it's not it, maybe this time it won't reject. If everybody's
Mm-hmm.
looking for it to, maybe this time it won't, right? You
Mm-hmm.
get the rejection, and then they tease you with a fake breakout, and
Mm-hmm.
then you get the reversal again. So it definitely there's a lot of mind tricks at this
Sure.
stage of the chart, I would say. And like you
Sure.
said, we're in a clear downtrend. We know what happens every time we hit that trend line, but there's always a bit of, is this time going to be different? And that's why I think it is sort of a day to day market, like we discussed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is so interesting to me because you also have this little channel that we just broke to the downside of, right? And so
Hmm.
now my question is, okay, I'm short-term bearish based on the fact that we broke out of that channel. And now do we high or low from here overall
Exactly.
on the daily, or do
Exactly.
we make new lows? And it's kind of like how does that set the table for 2023? What do we expect in 2023?
Mhm.
Do we higher low and bounce and come out of this thing, or is there more pain ahead, even into maybe 2024?
And that's the $1 million question, right? And that's one thing that I found myself constantly asking, like, what happens in 2023? Like, where do we go from here? And it's an interesting conflict to the day trading mentality because it's sort of like, don't worry about it right this second, like trade what's in front of you. But then you're constantly thinking, like, well, wait, if we do get the breakout, I don't want to miss it. If we do get the all-time lows, I don't want to miss it.
Hmm.
So it's definitely it's an interesting balance of being aware of what the possibilities are, but also just sort of refreshing and starting with a clean slate every single day and taking what the market gives you. I think that is like the most important lesson of this year is like you can
Sure.
anticipate and have every bias and every thought that you want in terms of what the market's going to do, but it doesn't matter because the market's going to do what it's going to do, and it's going to vary
Hmm.
quite a bit day to day. So, yeah, just trading the price action in front of you, really.
Right. Yeah. For investing long term, um, I just think, right, you don't want to miss the bottom, but you certainly don't want to be too early. And when you think about things like Bitcoin, people thought that Bitcoin was at the bottom so many times, and here we
Mhm.
are, still chilling under 20,000. And the future kind of feels unclear and uncertain for Bitcoin.
Yeah,
But I
I
will
think
say that
market in
um,
general.
right, and I will say that after the mega rally through the pandemic, it just makes sense that we needed to get the market healthy again. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Oh
so
yeah.
I think this will all be good for everybody eventually, but it's been painful in the process.
I feel like I think what is it like the picture of Obama that they show him like on his first day in the office versus like after his second term and how he's like he looks like he's aged 40 years like his hair is
Right.
completely gray. I feel like we're all going to have a little bit of premature aging from starting to trade this market at the time that we did. But the other side of that is like you mentioned like how amazing to in this period of time get such different experiences in the market. Is it challenging? Yes, absolutely. But will we be better prepared when there's a little bit more continuity and fluidity and smooth movements? 1000%.
I hope that's true. A lot of people are saying that if you've survived this market, then you're going to be fine. And that's yet to be seen, but I do hope that's true for us.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, especially
Thanks
like
for having
on
me.
record last minute notice. Absolutely amazing.
That's how it usually goes somehow with these things I've learned. So
That's your personality though. You're a scalper. You're probably
that's
looking at
right.
you're looking at 1 minute charts, and so you're ready to hop here on a dime. I love it.
No hesitation. Just slap the ask. Yep.
Slap the ask. If people want to follow you on Twitter, what is your handle?
At Bofo Momo.
Bofo Momo. Amazing. Let's see real quick what ES is doing.
Chilling.
Chilling.
Sideways.
Chilling 38.72. We're still in that hot spot to see if my nose pay off there. Thank you guys for joining. We are taking next week off, but we will be back in January, and I'm excited to have a whole new year of market to look forward to and discuss and play some more event contracts with you. All right. Thank you, Bofo.
Thanks.
See you guys next time.